Hey y'all, it's Laura and welcome to my Purge Your Stash series. Now to begin, we are going to be talking about a couple of tips and tricks that I'm going to put at the beginning of each and every video in this series to help you work through your stash, because I don't know where you're going to find this series. Are you going to find it in the middle, at the end? Either way, you'll have all the tips every single time. So the very first tip that I have is to evaluate your space. So you're going to look at what you have storage-wise now and really think about if it's working for you. Is it accessible to you? Is it appealing to you? Do you want to go and dig through those bits and pieces that you have and the way that you have them currently organized? If that answer is no, then it's time to find a new system. Maybe do a little bit of research online and find new options for yourself that do appeal to you, things that you find exciting and interesting, and that's the way you want to go. Now, also in evaluating your space, you want to consider whether or not you're finding things easily. So is it fairly easy to go put your hands on what you need right now? Because if it's not, then your system isn't working. And that is another little layer of where you want to begin right now. Just look around what you have, make a list if you need to of ideas of things you'd rather use for organization. Really break down what is or is not working about your space. Secondly, we're going to define our space. So we're going to decide how much of our space are we going to devote to each individual thing. So for example, single sheets of paper. How many cubes in your cube shelf are you going to devote to single sheets of paper? Do you have a whole cabinet that you're devoting to single sheets of paper? Do you have a bin like this one to devote to single sheets of paper? That needs to be a very defined space, and that will give you a natural boundary and keep you from trying to hold on to everything. By defining that space, you will know that you have a limit. And another way you can define that space and create those limits is to create a time period limit. So this is looking at your stash and realistically asking yourself, how many pieces of paper can I use in, say, a year, 5 years, 10 years? Whatever age limit you want to put on your stash, you certainly can. And especially if you're trying to pare things down a lot. So if you really need to purge your stash in a big way, that's a great way to do it, is to give yourself a realistic timeline. How much can I use in this period of time? And that way you're not holding on to so much that you get overwhelmed every single time you sit down to scrap. The third tip is to work small and smart. And what that means is we're going to be separating things into small sections. We're not going to take all of one thing and try to make decisions on it at one time, because we will get overwhelmed, we will make a giant mess, and we will not want to continue the project of purging our stash. So I would encourage you to use one supply at a time, decide where you want to start, focus on those things, and then move on. So when we're going through the process, we're going to be creating 3 piles. We're going to have a yes pile. We're going to have a maybe pile. We're going to have a no pile. And a really important element here is that when things go in the no pile, they're gone. They don't live at your house anymore. We're not touching them again. Once it hits that no pile, it's done. Its life in your life is over. You're separating yourselves from that stack. So pretend that stack is gone. You may want to put that stack in a box that's a little bit out of sight so you're not tempted to dig through there and try to find supposed gems, because I promise you, if it was a gem, you would have put it in the yes pile. Along the vein of those piles, you want to make these decisions very quickly. You do not want to sit and think and mull over every single piece of paper, okay? Give it a quick scan. If you want to play with it right now, if it's exciting to you, or if it's something you know you'll use, put it in that yes pile. Or for the maybe pile, I would put things that you're like, I think I could use this, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite thing. I'm pretty sure I could use it, but I don't think it's my favorite thing. I put that in the maybe pile. And if it's a no, those are things that are no longer your style. They are things that just don't appeal to you in the moment. You're not scrapping that sort of thing anymore. Let me give you an example. If you used to scrap a lot of pictures of your kids going to school, so you have a lot of school collections, but let's say your kids are done with school, those collections are not that helpful to you anymore. They can go in a no pile. And that's a pretty safe way to sort out your piles. Now, another thing to keep in mind when you're making those no piles is you need to decide, am I gonna keep doubles? So either yes or no, because sometimes that's a really quick and easy way to make a yes pile a little bit smaller is by taking those doubles and moving them to the no pile. I know that's hard because if we bought more than one of a sheet of paper or a pair of stickers, there was a reason. We loved it. The next thing I would say is, are you going to put an age limit on your stash? So is there a group of things that you bought 20 years ago, but have not used? You've bought 10 years ago, but you have not touched. You need to really think hard about whether or not you're going to put an age limit on your stash. And if those things haven't gotten used in that amount of time, are you realistically going to use them? So ask yourself those hard questions before you start. Separate into 3 piles and then stick to your decisions. That maybe pile is going to just go into your yes pile if you have room and your no pile if you don't. So make sure those are quick and hard and fast decisions. Those are decisions you're going to stick by. And that is how we're going to purge our stash. Now let's head over to the desk and I'll show you what supply we are working with today. So I had a request for me to do paper pads, and since my basket is in fact overflowing, we're gonna do the small paper pads. They're just easier to film. My process for large paper pads is the same, so that stands. First thing that I do for paper pads, I'm obviously not going to go through all of them right now, is I go ahead and pull out the ones I do or don't want. When I have a look at paper pads like this though, I don't generally keep the ones that I don't like. So I've been through this stack a few different times, and I think I've pulled out any that I just really don't like the overall feel of. And I don't buy very many small paper pads anymore anyway. So this should be a quick process, but if you have a lot of them that you haven't gone through, I would suggest kind of just putting them out on your desk, maybe grabbing all of the same brand. So putting your crepe paper ones stacked up together, your We Are Memory Keeper ones stacked up together, your pink paisley, pebbles, have them all stacked up by manufacturer, and then that way you can compare and contrast. So if you have several of the same, you can get rid of doubles as a way to clear out your stash, or you can compare and contrast, do I need both of these if they're similar collections. The other way you can do it if you don't have a lot of the same manufacturer like this is you can simply go by color schemes. So I have here 2 kind of bright pastel-y color schemes. You could put those together and say, okay, how many of these do I really need? That sort of thing. You could pull in, these have a similar color scheme. Are they perfectly the same? No, but they're both kind of that dark with the same green and yellow tones. So you could compare and contrast those. Now what we're gonna do is I'm just simply gonna flip through a couple of these, and I'm going to decide quickly whether I'm going to keep the entire thing or if I'm going to piece through it. And the way that I normally do that is I will just look here first. That usually gives you a little preview of what's inside. But additionally, I use these quite a lot. And so sometimes I do end up with paper pads that just don't have much left that I'm all that interested in. And so then I'm okay with getting rid of what's left. So having a look at this one, I think that this one has quite a few of these like cut apart pieces that don't really appeal to me. I'm thinking that I might go ahead and just pull out a few of these pages, and then I just keep them at the front of this little basket, these kind of loose pages. And I try to use those up first when I'm creating my DIY kits. So for this one, which is Garden Party by Pebbles, I'm gonna have a quick look. I love cut aparts, but when they're just a bunch of little squares, I don't find that all that useful. So I'm just gonna flip through and kind of pull out some of my favorite pages, and I don't need all of them. As you can see, I have way too many paper pads right now anyway. So I'm just gonna pull out a few that appeal to me. Quick decisions. Quick decisions. There we go. I love the pink. I do love a polka dot. I'm gonna end up pulling out a lot of these, but not all of them. So maybe half I'm gonna end up keeping, and the other half I will give away. Thankfully, I do have a new resource. There is a place here in my area where I live that has, no, I don't think I want a partial piece, that has actually specifically scrapbook material donation. So I am going to be moving most of my donations that direction, I think. Now this one is mostly full, but there's a lot of ones in here that I don't like. And so I may go the opposite direction with this one. And I may decide to pull the ones I don't like and donate those single sheets. That is another option. If you're finding that, oh, I really like most of what's in this collection, but not all of it, you can still kind of weed out the ones that don't really appeal to you. And that way you are still making a dent in the stash by getting rid of the ones that you're probably not going to use. Because I am a big proponent for, hey, let's not hold on to things if they're not your style, if they're not your jam, if they're not appealing to you at all, let them go. Let somebody else use them, let somebody else enjoy them. And I'm completely fine with that. So I'm going to pass this set on to someone who can use it. And the program that I found is just a local program. It gives them to special needs adults and families and shelters who are using these for projects. And so that will work as well. So that's the plan. And again, if I think I'm going to use most of it, then I'll just go ahead and keep the paper pad intact. So like this is one of my favorite collections from Pink Paisley. It's Summer Lights. I just love the color scheme of it. Yeah, I have no problem using all of those. So I'll keep that. And something like crepe paper, maybe could be a little bit more selective with. Yes, because there's quite a few in here don't super appeal to me. I do love a little peach moment. And the wood grain is very fun. But there's quite a few that are more flea market themed that don't really work for me. And just things like ampersands. I don't really have any great love of ampersands, so I'm not going to worry about something like that. Plain gray, I'm not a huge fan of off-white. So that's where you kind of lose me with some of these, is just the off-white nature of it. And I'm not a huge fan of vintage. But I do like this, which is kind of a faux cork page. And so I'll keep that one. But then, you know, the butterflies. We'll keep the butterflies. I can fussy cut those out. But I'm not a huge fan of like the distressed edges and the tape pieces and things like that. Not a huge fan of that. This is kind of cool. But I don't need two. I don't need letters. I don't need registers. This is interesting, but the way that they've done this, I'd rather they would have done it in the center, I think. And this was better as a 12 by 12. But yeah, I don't see, and there's just scraps in here I can get rid of. I can go ahead and donate this bit. And all I'm keeping is a small selection here. All Heart was a collection that I only bought a few of the pages of. I think I only bought a handful of these. And then I got the 6x8 paper pad because I just really liked some of the papers, which is, yeah, that's still true. I do like some of them, but I would not say most of them. I think some of them are a really fun color. Whoop. And I love a stripe. So if I was to use these in a kit, I could bring in multiple of these and they would all go together. I do love a black polka dot. But realism photos, I don't really love. You know, peace signs, this is okay, but it's not that exciting. This might be interesting for a journaling spot, a large journaling spot, but, you know, nonetheless, I love the stars, and I like the stripes. But I don't think I need more dots. Don't really like that one. This is rather boring. And sure, we'll keep the stars. But yeah, I got rid of probably 2/3 of this paper pad. very quick decisions. You don't want to belabor them. I think if you're having a hard time deciding whether or not to keep the pages, I think that what you need to do is think about how you're going to use them. Are you going to use them? Is it really going to stand out to you? Now this one I've had for quite a while, and I think I've used the papers in here that I really like, to be honest. Yes, looks like it. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this one go. This one is Pink Fresh Studio, which is one of my favorites. So let's have a little look. Yeah, this is pretty usable. I'm not too worried about that. So we'll do one more. Let me pick out one more. Here's a situation. I do have 2 of these, and actually at one point I had 3, but this is one of those collections that I have been in love with for forever, and it's Pink Paisley's Moonstruck. I would love for American Crafts, who now owns Pink Paisley, to come out with a collection that is similar to this, because I just love the mix of dark navy, of bold kind of magentas, and this like emerald purple. I love this collection. It is absolutely stunning. Now there are some papers in here that I probably won't use, so I will go ahead and just hug out a few that I know just on sight I'm not gonna use. This one I might, because it's a scripty font. So that one's a maybe. This one though, this is the one that gets me. I don't know what it is about this, but the colors do not work for me. I do not like them together. I don't like the way that they mix at all. So I'll just pull out the few I won't use. So if I did still have 3 of these though, I would go ahead and get rid of one whole paper pad because I don't need 3, but I have used one whole paper pad. So that tells me that this one is a pretty timeless option for me, and I can just pull out the ones that don't appeal to me to slim down what's gonna fit back into my basket. So in the end, this is where I ended up. I ended up culling all of these paper pads. Ooh, that was loud, sorry. All of these single sheets. So these will all get donated, and then I have just enough in my little container that I can flip through and easily see what I have without overflowing. And this is the goal. I want to stay within the organizational unit that I have chosen. This is my limit. This is my hard limit. I cannot buy more 6x6 paper pads until these have been more seriously depleted, is how I'm gonna put that. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and until next time, bye y'all.